Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And we return to Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This time we're looking at Traps Revisited.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
And while you're down there, in the description, you can find a link to Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's an affiliate link, and those proceeds go to help support the channel.
Because, you need your own Silgar to feed, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're talking about traps. We're talking about page 113 of Xanathar's. And this is expanded upon what's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, revisiting the stuff that was in the UA. And we get new traps that you can run. We got ideas of how to actually build traps of your own and how to actually, incorporate them into your game.
For the most part, right, as a GM, you can go in here and you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more traps you can just add right to your game. Like, if you don't want to think about any of the other stuff, if you don't want to worry about, implementing and creating your own traps, you're going to get 9 more examples, plus whatever's in the DMG, that you can just drop right in your game.
Well, that's 9 simple traps. And then if you look at the complex traps, you get another 2, 3, another 3 traps. So that's 12 things that you can be able to drop right in your game. And simple traps are that. They're simple. They might be challenging, they might be deadly and lethal as all get out, but they are simple. They are, you can find it, you can shut it down, and it can be done and dealt with quickly. Whereas complex traps are designed that you really aren't going to deal with this without being in its wake. You're going to get hurt dealing with these things.
Well, one of the more important things, like, you might be able to avoid it, but I think one of the biggest things that kind of differentiate the complex and simple is the fact that once a simple trap goes off, it's gone off, right? It's been dealt, in essence, one way or another, it's been dealt with. Where the complex traps have the ability to be an ongoing threat that you have to continually deal with, or, they're more likely to be the kind of traps that they're going to reset themselves, and someone who comes along behind you is going to have to deal with them.
As well as, the important factor is a complex trap has multiple things that need to be done in order to shut it off. You can't just finish it or turn it off with a simple, disarm traps.
Well, and yeah, there's going to be many steps to it, and also, many of them have many components too. So in some ways, it's like dealing with multiple traps. It's not just one, and you might have to deal with the individual portions of it in different ways. So, like, very, very much like, the Indiana Jones style, Temple of Doom style things are going to be introduced into your game. Going back to the beginning, basically it defines what a simple trap is. It lets you know what the elements are, and then in examples, you can actually see how they use them.
So you have your level and threat, your trigger, your effect, and your countermeasures for each, so that you know exactly what's going on. Countermeasures clearly tell you, what you can do to stop it. Effect is what's actually happening. Trigger is just that, what made it happen. And then the level of threat is based on what tier of play you're looking at, and how dangerous do you want this to be? Do you want it to be, it's a simple trap, a moderate trap? I want this thing to be deadly and kill my players.
And then it tells you basically how you're going to run your simple traps. It goes through making traps meaningful, and kind of tells you, it's just a sidebar, but it kind of tells you or gives advice on how to use traps so that they're going to mean more in your game. And your players are going to, interact with them, make them more likely to interact with the traps you do use, and make it so that using traps doesn't, ruin your games.
So it gets into who made the trap and why. So if you just put a trap that's in there without knowing why it's there or who did it, it takes away some of the flavor that could be part of it. You put a simple bear trap out in the woods. Well, that's probably a hunter who's trying to scare up game to feed his family. All right, well, players happen to wander across it. No real malice is intent on that. Oh, well, if it's a hunter that's actually hunting these player characters, oh, well, then that changes the scenario. Well, do we want to add poison damage onto the trap so that once it's sprung, they're not taking the simple damage, they're taking more than that because they've now been injured severely by this thing.
All right. So the examples we get are bear trap, crossbow trap, falling portcullis, fiery blast, net trap, pit trap, poison needle, scything blade, and sleep of ages. And from there, it goes into designing simple traps, and basically goes through and the process with you, starting with the purpose. What is the purpose of this trap? Is it to set an alarm, to delay intruders, destroy intruders, restrain people? So it really goes. There's a lot of detail in how to interact with traps in your dungeon, in your world, in your campaigns.
And we get into the level and lethality, and we get a couple of charts. What's the trap danger? Moderate, dangerous, or deadly, and you have your save DCs and your attack bonuses for that. Damage severity by level, which we have in the DMG, and it goes anywhere from low level, to moderate, which is a simple D10 damage, all the way up to high tier deadly damage, 24 die 10. That is enough that you could literally cut somebody up. They talk about that if you want to take these damages and have them become area effect as opposed to a single target, you could change your D10s to D6s. You've got spell equivalent by level. So it breaks it down per tier, per each of those categories. And it's talking about if you want a deadly trap for a high level party, you're going beyond a 9th level spell slot. So you can get some serious boom in that.
Yeah, they're actually saying use a 9th level and 5th level spell together. So it gives you some things to play with. And also too, like I would say, it's not just like deadly is in kill, but you can extrapolate from that. Like, what if you wanted to use spells that incapacitate your players instead of killing them, and things like that? It would still give you an equivalent level spell for that level of threat. So
Right.
you would want to use that. Now, a lot of this other stuff, there's no point in us saying it again because we've already listed it. They do things like it goes into the kind of depth and like when you're trying to spot traps, what they're going to like some of the things you're going to describe to your players instead of it's not like you're probably not just going to see the trap per se, but you might see score marks on the wall where the scything blade has been hitting for however long this trap has existed there or whatever, and then it gives the players something to interact with and investigate.
And it does say that use traps sparingly, because the last thing that you want to do is have your dungeon crawl or your session go where the characters are painstakingly crawling through every inch looking for traps because you've made them so hard, so dangerous that it's taking away the fun of the game as opposed to adding a little bit of danger into what's there and making it more challenging than they can actually deal with.
When you get into like the complex traps, they kind of work like legendary monsters with their actions and stuff like that. They can actually have initiative order. They can have initiative order more than once. So it really becomes like it's almost like fighting a monster in some ways. Really, most of this is the same as in the UA. It's kind of been regurgitated a bit, but it's going to be useful for a GM who wants to do more with traps. So I don't think there's a whole lot for us to expand upon. But that's what you can expect from the Traps Revisited section of Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
So what do you guys think of the trap section? Is it something that you're using in your game? Thumbs up, thumbs down, however you want to do it. Continue the conversation down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can find the link to get your own copy of Xanathar's Guide to Everything in the description.
So until next time, stay nerdy.